Boy, I haven't done one of these just dedicated woods walks in a while, and so I'm heading out today to pick up some American chestnut leaves for Eric Comley, one of the other instructors at Nature Reliance School. So I thought I would get it started or do another woods walk for you guys today. So here's some things that are going through my mind as I get started. I sent a text to Jennifer this morning to hit her later because Jennifer stays up late every night. That's when she works her best, when I've gone to bed and I'm not bothering her when she's editing. So she stays up late and then gets up a little bit later than I do in the mornings. So that I didn't wake her up, I like these cool features on the iPhone where you can send a text later. So I sent a text to her this morning. I'm getting on the trail at 6:30. Been up since about 4:30 this morning. Telling her where I'm going, when can she expect me to return home, and who I'm going with, who is Tracker. This is what I tell everybody to do. This is what I do, because if I have trouble out here today, then somebody needs to know where I am. So I also do a risk assessment, risk analysis, like I do with every class that we've ever done, and what I recommend to you all. Here's my big risk today. Super hot today, so overheating. So I got a couple extra bottles of water. I hydrated on my way here. Man, look at those big deer tracks. Probably a big old doe right before she had babies or something. Risk assessment, risk analysis included heat exhaustion, heat stroke, or something of that nature. It's not going to be too bad because I'm going to be in territory like this all day where I'm basically shaded, so I'm not in direct sunlight. The walk is relatively, well, it's downhill all the way there where I'm going, but just slightly downhill. It's very gentle slope all the way. If you'd never looked at the topography, you probably wouldn't even know. So that's concerned. Weather could be a concern. I looked at the weather forecast before I came out here. We had pop-up showers, but nothing strong, so that's not really of a concern. My biggest concern here today is realistically copperheads and rattlesnakes. So that's where I'm going. I have seen both. So on a day like today, that's a real possibility. So you'll see me a lot of times in the summer carrying a walking stick. This is my old Joe that I used in Aikido, doing Joe work. Joes are a fantastic self-defense tool if you know how to use them properly, and spent a good 20 plus years learning how to use them properly to do that. Fantastic tool. So what I'll do is, out in front of me, if I'm in tall grass where I can't see, then I'll hit the grass with this stick. Funny situation is, where I'm going is one of the few places that I've seen timber rattlesnakes, and it's going to be, when I get there, it's going to be tall grass. So I'm just cognizant of that every time I go this direction. But yeah, good to be with you again. It's been a while. One of the other things that I've done is I told Jennifer, you'll notice I'm just showing you because I show you I got it. Man, I love these new antennas from Iron Spear Outfitters. That's what all the instructors are carrying now. Great antennas. But I told Jennifer I'm gonna have my phone, which I don't have any cell service here, but I normally turn on airplane mode anyway. She knows that when I go out, so she can't track me on apps like Life 360 or Google if we're sharing location, stuff of that nature. She can't track me necessarily every time. So that deer, gosh, that's crazy how big that is. Almost looks like an elk. Anyway, so I also told her that I have a radio in the text, and that radio and what channel it's set on. So that should help in case I need any help. If something happens, like I break an ankle or something, pretty much going to be relying on the fact that she's going to send help to me. And I could crawl out from here, but it's not realistic. I would just, because I told her that I will be out at the latest by noon, because this is a quick trip where I'm going, probably about an hour and a half in, hour and a half out at best, typically. But if it's more than that, then something's gone wrong. I'll take the recommendation that I tell you all and all of our students to just sit and wait, because I've told her and she knows exactly where I am and she can get some help to me. I don't know if this is gonna pick this up, but listen. It's a wood thrush. Man, I think that's a wood thrush. That beautiful melodic sound. Those birds are often heard early in the morning like this as the sun's coming up. Just in my mind, they're just announcing the day and giving glory to God for what's happening, which is a new day. That other one that you're hearing in the background, that's way off. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is a oven bird. It's one of my favorite birds out here because they're about that big. They're not much bigger than that. They're tiny, and they make this really raucous, listen to me kind of sound. It's kind of funny, I think, because they're so small. But one of the things that I'll use, if you haven't found this and discovered this already, is the Merlin Bird app. You can turn it on to listen and it'll tell you what birds are out there. Here's a really unique feature up here on this trail. It's going to be hard to see because it's grown up now, but see behind me, see that horizontal piece? That's not a tree that's fallen. Well, that one is. That is a big tree that's fallen over. You can see the vertical pieces. It's really hard to see, but there's a small fenced in area, and it's exactly 1/2 of an acre. And the fence is really tall, and those were put together. Man, they've been, that one right there has been there since I was a kid. That was put in there by biologists many years ago to study the effect that deer had on the landscape. So back then, it's one of the things that got me interested in being like a naturalist and being more of just a woodsman. Trying to understand the woods as a woodsman is different than trying to have an academic understanding like a biologist or a naturalist does. Both are incredibly valuable. I'm not discounting either one. The point I'm trying to make is that I would come by here and you could see inside the fence there was so much vegetation, and all the way around it, in all of this area, it was different. And it's hard to imagine when you walk through an area like this that deer would have that much effect on something. So there were several of those that were built in this part of the world. I'm up in the Dandy National Forest today, heading down near Buck Creek, if you're familiar with that area at all. But they had those throughout the forest, and I'm sure that there was some sort of order to how they put them out, but I'm not aware of it and never talked to a biologist about them. Just looked them up, see what they were all about. But it was fascinating to see how much growth was inside because the deer could not affect it inside there. I've turned the camera around on this one, you'll see why. But this plant right here, the one that's tallest that I'm trying to get close-ups on, all the way down through there and all the way down through there in the middle. That's all stinging nettle. Gotta be careful walking through those areas. I've gotten to where I wear these Wrangler pants from Walmart. They're incredibly stretchy and comfortable, but they're thin, which is great in summertime. So I like wearing them because I keep them sprayed throughout the summer with permethrin to keep the ticks off of me for trips like this, especially where I'm gonna be in a bunch of weeds. But man, oh man, they're thin, keep me cool, but stinging nettle will go right through them at times. So I've walked through in these pants and just got stung. So I still pay attention when I'm walking, even with the pants on. Back in the day when I was young, you know, wearing blue jeans or whatever, not an issue. They're not gonna go through blue jeans, but they will through these pants. This stuff right here, off to my right, over here, that's all multiflora rose. That's an invasive. How does it get to a place like this? Probably birds eating hops and seeds and dispersing them through their poop. It's one of them things that's such an invasive, it'll take over this whole area if somebody doesn't do anything about it, and they won't. There's just not the money to combat that sort of stuff. Here is a bunch of, let me turn the camera around. Tracker's walking right through it. This is jewelweed that we talk about all the time. See the purplish stem down below, the somewhat sawtooth edge. Oh, here's a big one. It's a nice one. If we were to pull that up, I don't need it right now. If we were to pull that up, then that's a good one to use as a poison ivy wash. Meaning it's not going to, it might, been real careful on how I word these things lately, because we've gotten a lot of Jennifer's videos. She handles nearly all the social media. I just get on camera and talk kind of stuff, but they've gone viral, and I gotta be real careful because it's going out to millions of people at this point on the social media stuff. That's why I like having you guys in the membership, because I can talk at length about topics, because you are hopefully dedicated students, and the entertainment group that watches us on social media, they just get little sound bites and they're not really students. It's all necessary, but it is what it is. But that stuff is real juicy, jewelweed. Sometimes called touch me not, because when you hit the flower, it explodes, sort of throws out all the seed stuff. I think it's seeds. Anyway, it's real juicy, so you can put it on your exposed skin to help dilute urushiol oil if you get it on you from poison ivy. Shouldn't be an issue for me today, because I'm going to be on this trail most of the day in the area where I go through tall weeds and stuff. Then typically don't have to worry about poison ivy there, but it's not a curative. If you've already got the oil on you, you've got the contact dermatitis, the skin rash from it, jewelweed's not going to do anything for you at that point. Not a thing. So you've got to use it before or immediately upon making contact with urushiol oil. Use it as a wash. Quite frankly, a better choice is to get a lot of water on it and soap, if anything else. So think about, a lot of people use Dawn dishwashing liquid when they get oil on their hands, because it goes against oil. That's why it's such a good thing for washing dishes. You can use that really well if you've got quick contact with poison ivy and you have access to water. Used to, I don't anymore. Zane, my son, really problematic with poison ivy. So back when he was hiking with us a lot as a kid, we always kept that with us. So when he got into it, because he was probably going to, when he got into it, we could wash him up with Dawn dishwashing liquid in a nearby, hopefully a nearby creek, and get some of that off of him. See that area behind me? It's a muddy spot. Here's how I use these when I'm out like this. So I got on the trail. You saw where I started. my truck is parked somewhere on a hill, and you go downhill onto this logging road. When I say logging road, look, it's not much more than a trail anymore, but old Forest Service road, they have gravel on it, so it's easy walking. I like to know if anybody's out here, even though there wasn't anything parked there. So I found, what I do is I go from track trap to track trap. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna talk to you, and then I'm gonna figure that out. Key it out here. I got one of my tree books with me. So I'll stop at those track traps and find tracks that have gone in, and see if I can find tracks that have gone out. That way I don't, where I know if somebody's out here with me, stuff of that nature. Or at least commonly they'll be walking a road like this too. So here's what I'm gonna do. Dichotomous key. I don't know what this shrubby plant is, but I'm gonna pull out. I've got a tree guide, which I think this is a tree. I don't know if it's a shrub, but I'm gonna key it out, see if I can figure it out. Now that was really cool, because that's the first time I've ever seen that tree. I keyed it out and then used Seek to back me up. That's usually how I do it, so I can keep up on the skills of using a dichotomous key, is to key it out so I keep that skill up, and then use Seek as a backup. And if I'm in a hurry, obviously I'll just go right to Seek or iNaturalist. But that was an alternate leaved dogwood. So we talk about, in identifying trees, mad buck, maple ash dogwood, buckeye, those being the opposite leaved trees, where the stems of the leaves are opposite of one another along the stem, the primary stem of the tree. But sorry, this is a great place to see snakes, so I'm kind of paying attention a little bit more, using my stick the way I was telling you all. But there is, here in Kentucky and elsewhere, I'm sure, I don't know the distribution of this species, an alternate leaved dogwood. So instead of the leaves being opposite one another along the stem, they are alternate along the stem, which is, there's not very many of them here as best I know. But my third way of verifying what I'm looking at is I'll take pictures sitting at the Eric Comley, who I'm going after chestnut leaves for today, and he's such a wealth of information. So he'll either say, yeah, Craig, that's what it is, or no. Well, that's a nice little addition to the hike. Never seen that before until today. Here's two of the reasons I like coming here. It's gonna be hard to get this on camera, but that is a Quercus alba white oak tree, massive. And that tree behind me right here that I'm pointing to, that's a tulip poplar, another big massive tree. Here in the Daniel Boone, this area has not been logged. This specific area right here has not been logged for a considerable time. So there's some really large species. Oh man, I forgot. I'll try to remember on the way out what we believe might be. I was talking to a forester. I ran into a forester up here probably 3 years ago, and was talking to him about what's going on around here. There's a massive wild cherry tree right at the get-go of this trail. And again, I'll try to get it on camera. We think it might be the state tree, the state giant. I mean, the biggest wild cherry tree in the state. Should be pretty cool. So again, if you're from this area, this signage right here, as you can see, is broken off. Really important information. Foot travel only, basically. Zilpar Road is, seriously, 2 miles that way? Man. Cave Run Lake's 1.25 miles that way. So you can see this sign up here. This trail, see how it's broken? This is a real problem, you all, because federal government doesn't have money to keep signage up. And this is how, not necessarily here as bad as in places like the Red River Gorge near me, because There's so many what are referred to as user trails there, and user trails are trails where somebody knows that there's some kind of cool rock formation or something, so they just walk off into the woods and get off trail to go check it out. Those user trails are what get a lot of people lost. This is another common thing that I do. Every time I run over a nice track trap like this, I just stop and look. See what's coming in and going out, human-wise, what kind of critters are here. So these user trails, there's a kid in here too. That's a little bitty boot right there. Could be a, I shouldn't say it's a kid, it's a small boot print, which tells me it's either a child or a small adult. All right, man, it's kind of like ADHD, squirrel or whatever, sorry. Federal government doesn't have the money to clear these trails. You see the trail running right into this tree top. Signage gets broken and doesn't get replaced, and so people go hiking out. They get off on a user trail or they're on the main trail and there's a sign that says, hey, go this way for this, and the sign's just not there anymore. So that is a real problem for a lot of people in like the Red River Gorge, where it's easy to get on a trail and get lost rather quickly. So look at this behind me here right now. See how it looks different? I'm getting ready to get into an open field. Come back at you when I get there. Here's a cool find. So this tree, here I am on the trail, and this tree had fallen across it, and forestry, U.S. forestry, or maybe even state forestry, came in and has cleared this, trying to get to these fields. So this is not all the way to the bottom of the tree, but we can at least count the rings right here. There's going to be more at the base. I counted 93 rings right here. So this is a very rough estimate of things that you can do, because this is not perfect science, okay? But if that tree is that big around, you can take a look at it and then look around the trees at it. They should have virtually the same nutrition, the same sunlight in this general area. So trees about that size are all going to be around 100 years old, because that one's 93, and that's 93 about 10 foot up the tree, so it's probably close to 100, because the more rings are going to be at the base, where you can get an accurate assessment of the age. So the reason I bring that up is you can't look at a tree and go, okay, that tree's that old. It's impossible. When I was going through Master Naturalist certification, one of the teachers that was teaching forestry and woody stem plant identification, he brought in a little, man, it was maybe 5 or 6 inches eastern hemlock, and it was 150 years old, and it was like that because it'd been growing on the side of a rock and it got knocked down from a tree that fell, so they cut it. They were surprised even that it was as old as it was. And it was, you had to use a magnifying glass to count the rings on it. It's really impressive to see such a little tree with so many rings. But so the number of rings, well, the size of a tree is dictated by the water, the sunlight, the stress of it, whether it's on a slope or not. And so that's really important to understand about aging trees. Now, this is what's getting ready to happen. I'm getting ready to go through that field and all that junk where the tracker's standing. And that's where I saw the rattlesnake the last time. So I'm gonna turn the camera off so I can pay attention. And I'll see you on the other side. Not all the way through, but through the tall stuff at least. You're probably thinking, man, chiggers and ticks, yeah, without a doubt. I always have permethrin on my pants, my boots, and whatnot. That is going to help ward off the ticks. And chiggers are, man, they're tough. So what I do for chiggers is put DEET around the entry points, like around my socks, around my waist, and that sort of spot. And sometimes you just can't avoid them. Whew, there's a blackberry stuck in my arm. Man, they're all red too. Me and Tracker would feast on blackberries if they were ready to eat. So the other thing that these pants are good for, that I'm reminded of, is they're quick drying because it's early in the morning. Because my legs are soaked from about the waist down now from walking in all this stuff. Oh, that's oh cool, that's milkweed. Good for the monarch butterflies. It's the only thing that they'll land and put their eggs on. So seeing that around is awesome. But these pants are quick drying. They'll be dry probably in 10 minutes after I get out of all this junk. But that's what we're looking at. These kind of places are great places to see wildlife, because in a forested area, these herbaceous plants are not prominent out in the woods. So when you come across one opening like this, a wildlife opening or an old homestead or something like that, then you have a great opportunity to see a lot of critters that are going to feast on those herbaceous plants. Whew. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. I put him behind me in areas that are highly likely to see rattlesnakes. He's a good dog. It seems like a little thing, but this is one of those places I would call a very serious danger zone. Right here. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but because of algae growing, these rocks are slick as snot. And I'm probably, what was it we said earlier, 2 miles back in here. There's no cell service here. Radio coverage on the repeater is difficult because I'm down in a holler, which means if I fall right here and break an arm or break a leg, twist an ankle, which this kind of spot is a great place to do that, then I could be in trouble. So I, as you can tell, take my sweet time walking around these areas. And we'll get back up on the trail, get out of that creek. So this is a good way to get lost, what I'm doing right now. I don't know where the trail is exactly, I just know it's over here somewhere. So a lot of people will just start wandering at times like this. And I like to use, I know, because I've been here before, that the creek is, or the trail runs across the creek, but it's really thick and full of algae back there, so I wanted to avoid that. But I'm using the creek as a handrail, meaning the creek's right over there, and I'm not going to sway or swerve off too far to where I can't see it. Stay close to where it is that I am. Keep an eye on the trail. I mean, keep an eye on the creek, because I know if I stay close to it, I'll end up coming across the trail again, which I did right here. It's easy to start wandering, and the beautiful thing is cow topo, which I have, and I'm familiar with this area, so I don't have to pull it out. Tracker over there, he's 100% Australian Shepherd, but I swear you all, I think that dog's got Labrador in him or something. He loves the water. He doesn't like to swim, but he doesn't like to get up where he has to dog paddle, but he sure likes getting in it. Hey, what are you doing? The people want to see some Tracker. What are you doing? Hey, good boy. Good boy. Come back to me. He thought I was upset with him. So yeah, this is a great place to do a lot of discussion like this, because there's, ooh, that's a plant I don't know. I gotta get down here so I make my window of time. This is a serious problem for people like me and Eric talk about this all the time. It's easy to go on a trail and then get, all right, there's this, let's take some photos, let's figure out, let's key this out. And you've taken what is a 2 to 3 mile hike and spent 8 hours doing it. So it's a good time for me, for sure. I do it regularly, but if I've given my wife a window of time, I've got to stick to that window of time, because that woman at 12 o'clock is going to call somebody. I'm just telling you. If I don't make it back to my window. And that's what it's there for. So that's why I always give myself a couple of hours, because even in cold weather and the gear that I carry, a couple of hours is not going to mean life or death in most situations. Therefore, especially in the summer heat, therefore she can get help to me if it's needed. It's kind of a funny story, but me and my cousin, we used to ride mountain bikes, and we're coming down this trail that I was just walking on, and this creek crossing goes right over there. You can see where the trail comes out right there. And this creek, it looked like it's about 6 inches, and we hit it. He hit it first. Something else I want to show you here. It's really cool. But he hit it first, and it was about, at that point in time, we didn't realize it, but there was a pool right here, and it was probably a good 6-7 feet deep right there. So he goes into it on a mountain bike, goes over the handlebars, goes completely underwater. It was hilarious. So look behind me. I don't know if I can pick this up. I don't think it's going to pick it up, but tracker came out of the water. Let me turn the camera around, I'll show you. Here's tracker. He comes out of the water, and you can see the water splashes. Everything right here is kind of damp, but you can see the water splashes like this right here. This, all of these. Those are all indicators of fresh sign, because in about an hour with this humidity, those things, the heat and humidity here, those will dry up and not be here. So as a tracker, you can, if you're tracking something around creek or water like this, and it's all weather based, right? You can determine the age of the sign based upon something like that, and know that, hey, I'm less than an hour behind whatever it is that I'm tracking. If it's super fresh like that was, obviously, because tracker just did it, then you know you're right behind it. Aging signs is one of the hardest parts about tracking. Usually what we do is we refer to people to 3 categories: relatively new, that's less than 24 hours old; relatively old, that's older than 24 hours; and heck if I know, meaning I don't know. One of the things that you'll see in the TV shows and movies is, well, we're 30 minutes behind him or something like that, and that's most of the time, that's nearly impossibility. You have to attach the age of sign to something weather specific, meaning if you know that it started raining 30 minutes ago, and you've got sign where there's very few raindrops in it, then you're probably right behind somebody, because not as many raindrops are there. But if the tracks are already there and it started raining 30 minutes ago, it might be full of raindrops. So you base it upon weather patterns, and that includes wind. Wind will break down a track and dry it out quickly. So the upper portions of a track, like the ridge lines on the tread patterns of tracks, those are the first things to crumble. So as a tracker, one of the first things I look for when aging sign are those ridges, and take a look at them to see, are those broke down? And falling apart? Are they crumbling? That means, that track's older. Man, this is a great spot to talk about signage. There's a sign right behind me in this tall grass that's completely covered by this tall vegetation here. if somebody's walking up through here, you can see this trail that I'm on rather easily, but you can't see that one over there very well at all. It'd be an easy way to get lost. Check this out. That's wild grape, I think. I gotta keep on the move, so I'm not real good on wild grape and Canadian moonseed differences in the leaves. There's something about the tendrils, and I can't remember what it is right now, but one of the defining things that helps you identify them is the seeds themselves. Moonseed is called, Canadian moonseed is called Canadian moonseed because the seed itself looks sort of like a crescent moon. And wild grape looks like typical grape seed from a grape that you would get in the grocery store. So that's a great way of identifying those two and not getting them confused. That way you don't eat a bunch of Canadian moonseed, which are toxic. Probably make your stomach hurt, maybe vomit even. Most likely not going to kill you unless you have an allergic reaction, but you don't want that kind of thing happening in the outdoors. And at the same time, if you find some wild grapes, wow, they're awesome. So one time I was training as a student at Earth School with Richard Cleveland and his Scout Tracker class, which is back then, I think it was 9 days, something like that. Anyway, it was long. And several of those days, you're basically living off the land and hunting other students and being hunted by the instructors. And I'm crawling in on this hide, doing some recon on another setup, and I'm using a log that's in front of me to keep them from being able to see me, because I'm going to be close when I get to them. And I mean, on the other side of the log, they're probably 20 yards on the other side of it. I can still see them right now. It's crazy. And as I got to the log, it took a lot of effort and a lot of crawling, and I got there, and so I was going to take a break and just lay down behind the log to catch my breath. And when I laid down, I rolled over on my back, and right above my head, it was glorious, you all. It was glorious. Right above my head was a big grapevine. Had the most beautiful, I mean, as big as the end of my thumb grapes. I mean, which is pretty sizable. This is down in North Carolina, which is pretty sizable for wild grapes. And I just gave thanks, laid there, and feasted on grapes, man. It's one of those nature moments where you're just thankful for the blessings that you get, that are particularly those that come as a big surprise. But I had missed them crawling in. I was so hyper focused on the people that I was trying to get up on that I had missed the grapes right in front of me. If I had not stopped and laid on my back, I would have missed them. There's a lesson there somewhere. It's another one of those things can be hard to see from a distance, but behind me, you see there's a tree right there. Oops. Right there. Out in the middle of that field, that's an American chestnut. And there's another one. There's about 6 or 7 right here. There's another one right, can't see it from here on the video. I'm gonna get up close in a second. Right there. The trunk of the tree is really dark. And from this distance, I can see, and you probably can, you can see the seed pods out on the outer limits of the branches. I've been trying to get this message across to a lot of people: beech nuts, chestnuts, even acorns. So this tree is right on the edge of this forest right here. These trees that run right down this line right here. And so half the tree basically is on the forested side and half of it is on the sunny side of the field. And that sunny side of the field is where all the nuts are. All the chestnuts, beech nuts that are around here, they're going to be the same because they'll gather in all that sun and it'll get the tree gets everything it needs on that outer side. It gets the rain, it gets the sun, it gets everything. So it's a good lesson as far as, hey, if I'm gonna hunt this area, walk to the field and check out and see what your nut mast crop is like. And that'll give you a good idea. Okay, this is a good spot to set up a tree stand or a blind or whatever, or to still hunt or something of that nature. So here we are. Special place for me, you all. That tree right there is Castanea dentata. I think that's how you say it. The American chestnut. And so is that. Castanea dentata. All those branches right there are American chestnut. So you all by now are surely familiar with the logo. American Frontiersman knife, Chamonix, and the leaf that is there is from the American chestnut. The thought on that for our logo was, hey, American Frontiersman skills are leaving us. I wanted to preserve them. Understanding of the naturalist world is leaving us, so I wanted to accent that. So I combined the two into a logo. The leaf that you see on that logo, Jennifer and I took leaves from this tree. She sketched them out. I passed them on to a graphic artist, because back then she wasn't doing much with graphic art, primarily pen, pencil, charcoal, and paint, stuff of that nature. She's quite an artist. Now most of her art is done with photography and videography and stuff of that nature, which she's really good at, obviously. So I took that sketch, passed it on to a graphic artist, and took a picture of a knife that I owned, the one that you see in the logo, and he combined them and made them into the logo that you now see. That is the Nature Reliance School logo. The leaf came off these trees right here. So here's what I'm doing. If you're not familiar with 4-H, get involved with your local 4-H chapter. As an adult, you can mentor people. If you've got kids, there's so much you can do in 4-H. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So get involved. But one of the things that they do is they have an annual leaf collection, and you go through and you collect leaves, and you identify them, scientific name them, you preserve them, and all the things. Okay, so I think it's Eric's daughter, I'm not sure. I think she's doing a leaf project, and she's probably one of her last ones, because she's a senior getting ready to go to college. But he asked if I could get him some American chestnut, and I, happily agreed. As you can tell, I love this area of the world. So coming out here and walking around with the dog is not a problem. But that's what I'm here for. I'm gonna gather these leaves and then get on out of here and head home. What a great place to have to take a break, right? Yeah, it's good just to get out in the woods, have a seat, listen to the birds, see whatever critters come by, admire the trees. Look at that big old poplar over there. Liriodendron tulipifera. Big old massive poplar. Sycamore right next to it on the creek. Obviously all sorts of beech trees. There's a tree, I don't know what it is because I don't know a lot of stuff. There's the regular dogwood. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff to just observe and enjoy. So if I'm gonna do my best to remember to hit that big old massive wild cherry tree on the way back, otherwise I'm just going to walk back unless something is crazy. I'm not gonna get back on video because I wanna just focus on my enjoyment too as I share with you all. So I'm glad you're joining me on this woods walk. I'll do a debrief when I get back at the tree, talk about some other things if I run across them. And I guess I'm doing this sort of to just tell you, it's great to share stuff with people on social media, to get people interested in the outdoors, but it's also great to not do that at all and just go out and enjoy it for the sake of enjoying it. Go out and observe the trees, and sometimes I think of it as like, wow, this is just my little secret today where I get to do this. Me and Tracker are out doing our thing, and it's just me and him. Sometimes it's just me. Oftentimes it's me and Jennifer, and Jennifer and I work and they make video for people every day now at this point, because things are going so good on social media. And there's just times where we go out and we just hang out in the woods together too. It's incredibly important to do both. So hope that encourages you to do that. If you have something you want to send them my way, then shoot them to me in an email at info@naturebalance.org. If it comes through social media, sometimes I answer those, sometimes I don't. So we've got, 500, 600,000 followers on social media now. And I quite frankly don't have the time to answer questions. I just don't answer all the questions. So if you send them to an email, I don't get as many emails. I'll do everything I can to get to your email. Obviously, for those of you here in the membership, put them in the membership, because when you put a comment up on any video, then it sends us a message. Andrew helps me know if I've missed some. That way I can get in there and answer questions there, because hey, you all are members, you're paying to be here, and I want to answer your questions. So social media people, I just don't, unfortunately, I don't have time anymore with as many people. So, but I'm gonna take care of you members. So I'll hit you back up when I get to the cherry tree. I should have known that wouldn't last long. So that video I just made about how I'm gonna focus on myself. I got two things that I've seen like 30 seconds after I turned the camera off that I want to show you, because I don't see these very often. Check this out. So this is a sweet birch tree. You can tell by the horizontal, man, I went totally stupid. I can't remember the name, but this is one way that this tree gets nutrition. It's got a lot of holes all the way around. It's very natural to see this, and this is why it stands out. You very rarely see, there's not too many trees that have something that looks like this on it. So sweet birch, you can scratch some of that outer bark off and make a tea, and it is fantastic tea. We have Virginia creeper growing up it. Some people are allergic to that. We just did a video for social media. This is where video or social media is good, because I've known a person or two that have allergic reactions to Virginia creeper, but we showed the difference between Virginia creeper and poison ivy in the video, and we had a lot of people coming on saying they have allergic reaction to Virginia creeper, which I didn't know it was really that prominent. Here's the other thing, it's right here. Check out how big that wood sorrel is. Though that wood sorrel right there, that 1-3 leaf with hearts, that's about as big as the palm of my hand. So yeah, that's big for wood sorrel, that is. But so what I like to think about here is why. Well, because there's more nutrition in the soil here. It's a lot more shaded here, but it does get sunlight. So this part of this area like this is really good for having, and this is going to date me, you all, Gilligan's Island style stuff. Remember when they had the radioactive vegetables and everything on Gilligan's Island? If you're old enough to remember that. Some of the stuff up here will get huge. That's, usually about the size of my pinky finger or something like that. Back home, where the forest is not as nutritious, or the ground is not as nutrition rich, the stuff won't get that big. Here's another thing that I'm talking about a lot. I just did it, but let me get up here and show you. Turn the camera off and turn it back on. So let's say I'm walking right through here, and I've got to step over this log I'm going to. This is another thing that I'll use my stick for. If there's a snake there, kind of get it going on its own way. Look over before I step, and then I step. A lot of people say that. It's one of those things that a lot of people say. That's true, and there's good reason for it. But I like to go back to, okay, if that is a good place for snakes, why is it a good place for snakes? And that'll help me understand a lot more, question those type of things and think like that. Because what happens is people have lost critical thinking skills. We're taught in the American school system to basically memorize stuff, take a test, and then forget it. We're not taught in a lot of school systems. And this is not a knock against teachers at all, because I've got a lot of really good friends of mine that are school teachers that are salt of the earth people wanting to do great things for their students, and they're handcuffed by administration, testing regulations, and stuff of that nature. It's very, very unfortunate, because again, school teachers are often some of the best people in the world. But we hear somebody say you should always look over a log before you step on it so you don't step on a snake. We memorize that. We don't forget that one because it's dangerous. But ask yourself why. Well, because one of the primary pieces of a snake's diet is mice or small animals like that. And so if a mouse comes through there, it's going to run into that log, run down it, and by running down it, it's going to run into Mr. Snake. Mr. Snake has dinner and all the good things that go along with having dinner. So yeah, it's true. Snakes will oftentimes rest right at the base of a log on the ground for that reason. Here's another thing I like to show you. Turn the camera around. Pawpaw trees. There's one little hornbeam in there, but it's a beech. But most of these small trees you see right here are pawpaws. This goes back to that way I was talking about learning. So, if you see a bunch of little pawpaws, what does that mean? It means there was a seed of a bigger pawpaw somewhere around. So there's a couple of ways that happens. Could be up on the hill up there and the seeds rolled down the hill. That's a possibility. Maybe a raccoon ate pawpaws and pooped them out there. A bird ate pawpaw, ate a seed, which is not likely because they're pretty big seeds actually. Well, I don't know. But the point being is that you see a bunch of little pawpaws, where'd they come from? So if you're wanting pawpaws in the fruit, in the fall, then know where the little ones are at. This is one way that I use cow topo, is I have a folder for trees. And so interesting trees that I come across that I want to make sure I find. Number one, I do everything I can to commit them to memory, because I'm one of those guys that was born in 1969. So there was a lot of memorization of the woods. So I would learn stuff and just memorize, hey, this is where this is at. This is where I was when this happened. And I have the ability, because I've practiced and trained, that how to use technology like CalTopo to save those types of places. Like when I was in my 20s, I spent a considerable amount of time up here hiking. And I had three. I think it was three different topo maps, quadrangle maps for those that know what I'm talking about. That every time I went out, I would literally map out where I walked. And it was with a green marker, and I have those maps somewhere in all my files. And that's the way that I kept track of, no pun intended, kept track of the places I'd been. What I was trying to do back then is I was trying to fill the map up with all the green dotted lines where I'd walked. And I was fairly successful at doing that. Snakes again, just trying to keep them off of me. Deer trail inside the weeds. So I finish this story and I'll tell you how I know that. Know that it's a deer. Tracker. Come here. I think he was after a deer, maybe a fawn laying down in the weeds somewhere. Get him off the deer. So now I can use cow topo to do that. And I have folders and it's easy, a lot easier to organize and a lot easier to track because basically I just turn on the tracking feature of where I hike and it keeps track of me in cow topo. Then I put that into a folder. That way I know all these places that I've been. Okay, so I knew I wouldn't be able to walk back without trying to throw some tidbits at you. I absolutely love talking about everything out here and I hope you enjoy listening. There's so much out here, you all, it's crazy. But, so humans, we walk on two legs. And because of that, we're basically in a constant state of falling. Oh, you're good, buddy. I didn't hear him walking. No, he was not. Thought he was not behind me. All right, buddy, go ahead. Good boy. Because of that, our trail width is wider than your typical four-legged creature. So our trail width is somewhere around, man, I got to get over there and get that on video. It's a massive tree. Yes, sir. 14 to 16 inches is our trail width. Because we have a wide stance when we walk. So when we walk through tall grass or we walk through sand, you can see this easily. Sorry, I ran into that branch and turned my camera off. I don't know how that happened, but I'll reiterate what I was getting ready to say. So we're walking through an area. We're leaving that 14 to 16 inch trail width, which means the outside to the outside of the sign is at 14 to 16 inches. Whereas a deer, which is probably one of the largest creatures out here in these woods, there are some black bear out here, but they're not common here. But even a black bear, their trail width is going to be incredibly small, around that 6 to 8, somewhere thereabouts. So if you think of it, a kid that is a 75-pound kid, his or her trail width is still going to be that, probably on the lower end of 14, maybe even 13 inches wide. Whereas a 300-pound deer, a buck, let's say, his trail width is going to be 6 to 8 inches because they have better balance. So you're walking through that tall grass that I was back there earlier, and you see a path going through it. You can determine rather quickly, is that a deer or is that a human based upon trail width? So one question you have to ask yourself though is there multiple people walking side by side or multiple animals? And that's relatively easy to see actually. It's one of those things that I would have to have it in front of me to show you. But think about it, it's almost, unless it's a very disciplined unit that's walking single file on purpose for this very reason, somebody's going to veer off every now and then. So you'll see two trails that converge back to one if it's a human. Same thing with deer. They don't purposely walk single file. Some of your canines do because they're incredibly disciplined. Wolves and coyotes not as much, but wolves more so than your coyote as far as trail width. But that'll help you see if you're out, is this a human or is this a deer? So in a spot like that, where it's a really good spot for a doe this time of year to lay down a fawn and then go do her thing, separate herself from it for safety reasons, then, like if I was a biologist, I might follow that trail and probably find the fawn. I didn't want to disrupt a fawn today. I don't like disrupting. If I come across them, yeah, obviously I'm going to enjoy that, take a picture, that kind of stuff. But I try to distance myself from them, let the wildlife be the wildlife. But if I'm a biologist, sometimes I don't have that luxury. Got to study them, research them, tag them or something for research. So I might use that. And that's one of the things I've trained several biologists on tracking on how to find animals. And that's one of the things that we work on, is how to do exactly that. You know, it's a little thing, but it's not. You'll see a lot of folks that are all Gucci, slaves to fashion, I like to say, when they do outdoor stuff, and they're committed to hats are a big thing. So, for example, this is one of the reasons I like these chest kits, because I can just hang my hat here. When I start getting warm and feeling real sweaty, then I'll just take my hat off, hook it to my chest kit, and I immediately get cooler. It's not true. I wrote about this, I think, in Ultimate Wilderness Gear. It's not true that 60 to 70% of your body heat leaves through your head. It's your body heat leaves your body through any exposed skin. Like for today, where I've got this short sleeve t-shirt on, cotton on purpose. It's what I purposely chose to wear today, because the cotton will hold some of this moisture, and that moisture is exactly what pulls the heat away from my body, helps cool me down. But I also got my arms that are exposed, because a lot of body heat will go there. And in addition to that, sorry, my thing's falling apart here. In addition to that, my head. So if I'm wearing a hat and I start getting warm, one of the first things I can easily do is to take my hat off. So it's a simple solution. I'm not tied into being a slave to the fashion of I've got to wear my hat out here. Sorry for that twisting and turning. This thing is weird stuff. So, yeah, hope that helps. Here's a good lesson. That last video you saw me looking, I could see this. All this white stuff on top of this root ball. And guess what that is? I don't know. Matter of fact, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And on a day like today, where I got to meet a time deadline, I don't have time to figure that out. I'm guessing that's some sort of feces, and it's got bacteria that's growing on it. One reason I didn't want to get too close to that is because raccoons have oftentimes a central latrine area. You can think of it like ours, like they go to a specific spot to poop, and they have a parasite. I think it's a parasite that if you and I breathe that parasite in from dried raccoon feces, it could get into our brain and kill us. So I don't mess with raccoon feces. That's a real cool thing to be aware of farming. Like the other day, I climbed up into the loft of our barn at my dad's house to get some tobacco sticks to stake down tomatoes, and there was a bunch of raccoon feces there. I don't mess with that stuff, you all. If I'm around that, I actually put on a respirator. I took it actually up there with me in case, because up in the loft of a barn is a great place for raccoons to go. It's just really common. So I took my respirator with me. That way I put it on before I got up there, and worked really well. So that tree right there is what that division of forestry, Kentucky Division of Forestry, forester told me that he thought, he was not certain, is the state giant wild cherry tree. So I'm gonna go over there and stand next to it so you can get an actual better index on how big this thing is. So this is me leaned up against it. It's pretty sizable. It looks like it's split, but it's not. Two trees, it's one. And get around to the other side. You can see that it's one tree. It looks split from that side. Whew, man, this thing's huge. Look at that monster. Man. Big old tree. Big old tree. Been passing that. I mean, think about it. I'm 56 years old. I've been passing by that tree for 50 years now because I've been in this part of the world for a long time. Kind of a cool but a sad thing too. That tree right there is the one I was just at. See the one that's leaning into it? That's another big wild cherry that got knocked down in a storm probably 2 years ago now. It's a pretty sizable tree itself. But, I mean, here's the interesting thing though. I mean, you look down through there and see all these trees. I'm in the middle of a forest and I'm surrounded by trees, and there's only 2 wild cherry trees. I'm sure there's some little ones in there somewhere. But there's no big ones except those 2 massive ones. So, why? I don't know. Probably because when they logged, they were small and not worthy of taking in. And so they left them during the last logging operation, which happened probably right at 100 years ago. That's my guess. Because if you look around, this is what I was talking about earlier about aging that tree. You can't age a forest just by looking at the trees alive. You have to do either a bore sample where you basically drill out all the way to the center of the tree and you pull that out and it gives you an estimate. You can plug those, and for the most part it won't cause issues for the tree if you don't go all the way around it. That's called girdling. When you cut like a chainsaw all the way around the outside of a tree, that's girdling, and that'll kill it. The outer bark is on the outside, obviously. Directly beneath that is the xylem, the phloem, the cambium layer. That's basically the arterial and venous structure of a tree. And if you cut that, then it effectively kills the tree, just like cutting through arteries and veins on you and I. So, I don't know how I got here, but oh well, can't remember now. Man, 56 years old, I just lost my thought of what I was talking about. Now I remember. So, a tree falls down like it did on that trail, and we can age it by counting the rings, get a pretty approximate age. So trees of that size in that same general area, we can guesstimate are close to the same age. And since that tree that was there is pretty close to most of the trees up and down this whole holler right here, then I would make a very unscientific generalization that this was logged about 100 years ago, because that tree was probably too small to take and they left it back then, the one that was cut. So we're back at the truck now, you all. It's about 8:30, so that round trip took us a couple hours with a lot of slow walking, stopping, looking at stuff. So I'm gonna get myself and Tracker some good water. And we're gonna get out of here so we can get to cell coverage and text Jennifer and let her know that we are out and safe, so she doesn't call search and rescue to come get me. Yeah, we're here. Hey, thanks for joining me as always. So you may have noticed, if you follow us on social media, that I used to say, come on, join in, let's learn together. Tracy Trimble came up with that, and it was great. It really was great, and very happy to use it for a bunch of years. But Tracy has pulled away from Nature Reliance School. He's got a lot of things going on, and I thought it was a disservice to continue doing that. So I started the, hey, come get wild with me, Craig Cottle. So I hope you do. I hope you're online, getting out in the wild with me and enjoying what it is that's out here. I hope you're getting out on your own. I really hope you join us in a class sometime in person, but I know a lot of you are far away, can't get to an in-person class, and that's exactly what the online membership was built for, to pass out information to anybody and everybody who wants to study with us. So thanks for being part of it. I absolutely can't thank you enough for being a part of it. So enjoy getting outside. I hope some of the things that I saw today, you'll go outside and try to find them yourself in your neck of the woods, and that way we can learn together. We can all get wild with Craig Cottle at Nature Reliance School and the crew at Nature Reliance School.